And welcome on back, everyone, to episode 141 of Streaming with the Mouse. We're finally talking about Andor. You're probably wondering, Cliff, why did you lie to us again? You said you were going to start doing weekly episodes again. I got COVID, so I actually have a real excuse. I am feeling better, though. We are back. This was not a shot at you.
It felt like a shot at me.
It wasn't a shot at anyone. But we're going to be talking about Andor today. So get ready, and you're listening to Streaming with the Mouse. That wasn't a shot. Welcome back. That wasn't a shot at anyone. That was more of me being like, oh, I didn't promise you we were going to be doing week-to-week episodes again. And then I just said, nah, never mind.
No, you got
Screw
COVID.
you guys.
You got COVID. I fully moved. There was a lot that was happening. So
happy Thanksgiving. Happy any winter holiday. I don't think any of the winter holidays have started. I think Hanukkah starts this weekend. Christmas is next week. So we're going through all those. But we're finally talking about Andor. I'm excited to talk about it as a whole. I kind of wish, we just kind of ran out of time. I wish we could have talked about them in 3 episode chunks. And also, by the way, welcome to my co-host, Megan, as she is here for this. But I wish we could have done it in 3 parts. I know Professor Bond recommended that, and it would have flowed really well.
It would have flowed perfectly.
4 episodes of 3 would have been really good. But I digress. We're going into the new year with an actual schedule. But we have Andor today. We're going to be breaking down the top 6 options, the top 6 moments from it for each of us. Megan, I think, has a million honorable mentions.
I have 4.5.
4.5. Okay, 4.5 honorable mentions. News. I don't know if there's a lot. I feel like Disney. You're looking at me crazy. I could talk about Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill could be his own.
Let's not.
Have you ever heard the tragedy of Henry Cavill, the Witcher Superman?
Yeah, Warner Brothers and HBO Max are making very dumb decisions. I'm
more mad about. I'm not a DC person. That's been talked about.
What they're doing with Westworld and what they did with Manx,
I think they took Westworld off. So for this broadly for a second, I think they took Westworld off because someone else is going to buy it. I think Amazon Prime is going to buy it because the showrunners, the Nolan and his wife, and that's just not a good way to explain them because she's incredible. Also,
has a name.
Yes, she does have a name. But they currently have a show on it. They have that weird one with Chloe Grace Moretz that's on it.
That helped me. It was nothing.
So Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan. Jonathan Nolan is Christopher Nolan's brother, obviously. But currently, Jonathan Nolan, I'm looking for the name of it, but they had that, it's The Peripheral, that virtual reality thing that's on Prime. So I can picture them going to, people were saying they took it off because now they don't have to pay the actors royalties. I think yes, probably, but I also think someone else is going to buy it because Lisa Joy liked a tweet about someone else buying it. So there's definitely conversation. No matter what you think of Prime, I really like The Boys. I thought Lord of the Rings of Power could have been better. It was cinematically beautiful, but obviously Amazon throws the money around. They don't care. There's no loss in Amazon Prime because they're tied to the selling, not the shows. As the first cat. There's 3 cats in my room. There's 1 in yours. So we'll see how many we get throughout the day.
So sorry for people watching on YouTube. Sirius just jumped up on the table. I'm trying to train him. It is not going great. I'm fully in the belief that my cat is sexist because he only listens to my boyfriend. So it's upsetting. But yeah, HBO Max and Warner Brothers are doing dumb shit and what? Ooh, I cursed.
Language.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if I cut that, but
well, they're doing dumb things. But we won't get into that because it's Disney Plus podcast.
No, we're Disney Plus. I don't think
I will say 2 things before I get to the news. Twitter so funny about like they're like Kevin walking in, stealing Henry Cavill and Gal and like all the DC actors they've kind of just thrown out. Um, and like coming in and like how they offered it to him at first before they offered James Gunn, which is insane but so funny. Um,
Yes.
and then the news, I mean, there's been a lot of announcements about like when things are gonna air, things like that. Like Bad Batch is like in 2 weeks, two and a
Yeah,
half.
Bad Batch is coming in January. I will say I gave the Santa Clauses a chance. I did not like it at first. It got better. I only have one episode left. It got better. I will.
Is
I
that
will
what you did
not.
when you had COVID?
Yeah, that's one of the things I watched. They did week to week episodes. It got better. Um, Mandalorian has its release date in March, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, we haven't had Percy Jackson. I mean, we got a lot of acting news. I think. I don't
I
know.
I think Percy Jackson. Yeah, we've got a lot of Percy Jackson casting news. I think what's gonna happen. It's gonna wait till the new year, and it's gonna release around the same time as the sixth Percy Jackson and the Olympian book, because that is supposed to. Rick Riordan has said that it's supposed to be like a hey, read this book, watch a TV show, like ah thing.
I've always said if I ever wrote like a fantasy series, I would want the season one of the first book to come out when the last book is coming out. So you can kind of double dip, like, oh, you can start, oh, but you can also read the final, so you can kind of see where both is going.
Yeah.
Oh, and the best movie of all time is supposedly coming out in when is it? In tomorrow, today. If you're watching it today, so tonight is the release. We're recording this on Thursday, December 15th. The best movie of all time is in theaters now, Avatar: The Ways of the Water, as according to James Cameron. The funniest thing is, and we're about to get into Andor. I
I
heard
promise.
it is actually really good. That's the
I
worst part. I think that's the worst
that's
part about it. Is I've heard excellent. I have not heard a single bad thing about the movie. I have only heard good things.
I'm like, is he paying people to say good things? Because like not one person, but like I stand by. Listen, I was talking about this today at work. I stand by that not a single person could tell me the plot of Avatar, like the actual full plot. All I can tell you is the weird hair thing, which we are family friendly, so I won't go too much into that. But like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why we're doing this movie now. And James Cameron has been on this like like I'm so cool tour that's been driving me mental. But Christian is very excited to go see it and was like, "Oh, you want to see it with me?" And I was like,
But it's so funny because he's like, "Oh, Luke Skywalker is a household name. All these people are household names." He's like, "Jake Sully would be too." And the funniest thing is, and before we jump in, I'm sorry to all the people that are here
"We're
for
getting off
Andor.
tangent."
I was a firm believer that Sam Worthington was the next A-list actor in Hollywood. He was excellent in Clash of the Titans. He had all these like great movies that he was in. He did Call of Duty. He did the motion capture and voice for one of the Call of Duty campaigns, and then he just dropped off the face of the world because of Avatar 2. Because he put all the eggs in his basket. I mean, he's probably making a killing from the money. But I truly, it's just that's one thing. I just think James Cameron's hilarious. Like listening to him talk because I absolutely respect the total. I don't even know cognitive dissonance of like the movie. I totally respect it because he is so confident in this movie. I'm not going to see it in theaters. Probably I might, but I
Maybe I'll watch
respect
it on
it.
Disney
I
Plus.
will
Maybe
definitely
I'll watch.
watch it. I will definitely watch it when it's streaming. But I respect the confidence. I respect the
Maybe,
confidence.
maybe. I mean, I have 4 free movie tickets, so maybe
Ooh.
I'll use that. Yeah, won them from work. Um,
But let's
but
jump into it. Let's
yes,
let's do it.
sorry.
We have a long way to go for Andor.
Yes.
We have confirmation, so it's only Andor is a like limited time series. The first season was based around kind of just Andor, like getting his bearings, and then season two is going to be fast. It's going to be certain episodes. We were told what they were. It's going to be him flying through the rebellion, what he did, and we know that the last episodes of season two, whenever it airs, is going to be like 2 days before um Rogue One starts. So
That's what so I watch this show every single week, unlike somebody in this podcast. I watched it every single week. And Christian and I, at the end of each episode, would have a conversation about it. And every week we were like, we want it to end with like him sending K9 to go get Jin. Like that would be the perfect way to do it.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's nice. But let's start. I will let you go six, and then Megan can go through her 4.5. I'll have a few honorable mentions as well. But take it away. Your number 6.
So my number 6 is Luther's many monologues, but especially the one about sacrifices that he's made in the name of rebellion, like that whole one. I think that was just beautiful writing, beautiful storytelling, and the way the cinematography was during that scene was just very beautiful and very like dark and very much kind of reflecting how he feels like the sins he's committed in the name of the rebellion, as it's still in the infant ages, right? Like it's infancy. It's not where we know it to be when we see it in even Rogue One, right? 5 years before, it's still very very young and very not developed. So his monologues really like highlight what he's willing to give up for a better world for other people. And I just thought they were beautiful.
That's a good. I like that. That's good. I'm going to talk about Luthen later. But I'll talk about him.
Luther? I don't know. I'm dyslexic, man. I don't know.
Luthen,
Luthen.
Luthen Rail. So actually, I'll go with him first. But yes, you can tell he's part of the founding of the rebellion. At least he was like the financial aspect of the rebellion to start. But his his gig is so clever. It's so like well established because how smart to move money and do shady stuff. I mean, obviously it's for the betterment of the galaxy, but through art, through selling art, like this show was just an incredible social commentary. It was a great mirror into it, and a lot of my next point is going to be very about the mirror of the real world. But all the little knickknacks he had throughout it, like we saw, like it wasn't Plo Koon's mask, but it was Plo Koon's creature, like whatever he is, one of his masks. Like we had the Star Killer armor, the old Sith armor from Force Unleashed. We just had so many cool things. We had the Gungan shield, but the way they did it was so clever. Yeah, but it was so clever how they did it. But on top of that, the way they had like these code for talking for how to send money to certain places was just so cool. It was so clever. And I liked seeing the shop every time because, ooh, what am I going to see? But yeah, Luthen's cover up to me was great. It was just so well done, and it makes so much sense.
Yeah, I will say that was one of my honorable mentions, was the little Easter eggs in Luthen's store. I think it very much every time we'd like pause it and like look and see what we could find. It was a lot of like cool things, the holocrons. Like it was just very.
There was a Jedi and Sith holocron as well.
Yeah.
So you're number 5.
My number 5 is Mon Mothma's storyline and seeing more about her, like the way her family's structured, her part in the beginning of the rebellion, how she kind of became what she becomes, things like that. Sorry, I can't tell if Sirius is going after the Christmas tree or not.
It's fine.
But I really think it was very interesting, and like seeing this woman who we know is so important in the rebellion and so important in the New Republic, and seeing kind of how she got there and the struggles she faces with her husband, her child, like that whole family structure just fascinates me.
I'm gonna hold off on Mon Mothma because she is much higher on my list. I'm shocked she's not higher on yours. I'm a little disappointed in you, if I'm going to be 100% honest. But yes, I think I saw a tweet, and the people that I follow weren't happy with it, but it kind of made sense. Where it was like the show shouldn't have been called Andor. It should have been something about like the beginning of the rebellion, like something like about that. I get why it's called Andor, but I also kind of got where they were going, because a lot of the most interesting parts of the show weren't Andor. Like Andor was a great storyline. Andor had like Cassian had great storylines, but there were just so much more going on than a single person. And that's part of the rebellion where it's not a single person's story. It's all of them coming together for this greater good. But I'm going to switch to my number 5, which is going to be the opposite. It's about the greater bad, and the show does, and I love it. It was so well done, specifically through the actors, of how quickly people fall into line in a type of order, and how some people want to move up in the system. I could talk about the whole ISB architecture, but I'm mainly going to focus on Cyril, because it's like the ultimate like simp, like just like terrible
Incel.
person, incel. Thank you. Like, and he played it so well. Kyle Soller was so good at capturing this incel behavior. And the worst part is he kept moving up in it. He was so persistent. Deborah hated him. Deborah was ready to do it. And now, as we end the show with him saving her life, now she feels this like, oh, he's worth it now. Like, and you're gonna probably see him be an ISB agent next season. Like, he's gonna die next season at some point. But
Better.
I mean, I would hope. I don't think any of these Imperials are gonna last. I mean, we know where Yularen dies, but like the incelness of it is just so excellent because it's so true. It's so real. And that's what
It's
Star Wars
so real.
is, no matter what anyone wants to tell you. It is about it's supposed to be a mirror of, oh look, it's our world just in a galactic universal scale. And I'm happy we're finally seeing the bad, like we've always known how bad the Empire is, but on a street level, how how much it ingrains in a bad way.
I I know of a lot of people who don't like the show or didn't want to watch it because they're like it's too political, and like
Have you watched Star Wars?
where have you been? Like someone I know in my family is very into Star Wars, and is very much not seeing like the mirror effect and like why from like the beginning, and now it's like it's getting too political, and I'm like, "God, where are you, where's your head?" um I don't have that actually in my top 6 at all.
You're
I
disappointing
do.
me today.
I know. Oh, no, but I feel like you'll understand my other ones.
Okay.
um but I think that for me is almost the scariest part of the show, because
It's
it's
supposed
very,
to be. It's
yeah, it's
supposed to
very
be.
reflective of like what the real world is like, and where we're in as a society, specifically like American society. It is very much a mirror to what is going on in the world today, and I think it's
Forever.
and forever. Um, so it's just it's yeah, I think it's fascinating, and I really hate him, and like this like I'm a good guy. I'm trying my best. He like that incel is the best way to put it, man.
It is.
He
It
also
really
looks.
is.
He looks. The character looks like,
Cyril, yes.
yeah. He looks like a robot. Like he doesn't look like a real person. But also he looks like the guy from Lazy Town.
That's a good one. That's funny.
He does.
He does. Um, but that okay. So we're each through our first 2. So you're number 4.
No. Oh yes. Kind of. So just like a general thing, I liked the arc structure. I liked that it was like 3 episodes was an arc, 3 episodes an arc, and there was like an overlining theme, right? But like it didn't. It felt almost like Clone Wars when you watch it in arc order, um, but like in a way that like it's important to watch it beginning to end, because the main storyline is so important, but the little arcs in between help build it up to the end. Because and it gets into it a little bit more later down, but I loved that structure, and there wasn't any episode that I was like, this is a filler episode. Which I know y'all have, and you and I personally have talked about how sometimes with The Mandalorian we feel that way, or like Book of Boba Fett, that was a thing.
That was a filler series.
Yeah, honestly, yes. And even with like the Bad Batch or Clone Wars, like there were those episodes that you were like, they just really needed to do something here. But I didn't feel that with Andor. I felt like every single thing was a step forward to get Cassian to where he needed to be for the end of the season and eventually the end of the series.
That's yeah. I agree. There was no filler of this. The only thing I might have complained about, and I'm not even gonna. I don't think I have complaints about this show, and I usually do. Maybe the screws. I didn't like the screw. No, I don't know if you get that joke. I'm not
Oh,
diving into the Twitter
yes, yes,
lore.
yes.
Um,
Screws and bricks don't belong in stuff.
no, not at all. Even though Luke's lightsaber is literally a camera, light bulb, whatever. So my number four, I am going to continue on the Imperial Trek trend of this, and I'm going to talk about the ISB because the trend of the ISB is really interesting. We don't get a lot of it. We get a little bit of it in Rebels. We do see Yularen, and we see how the ISB, at least in here, gains its power. The ISB started as just they were the bureaucracy. They kept everything in line. They made the rules and they enforced the rules. And then we see because of someone like Andor, because of oh what's his name? I'm blanking on Stellan's name, Luthen. You see how fast it digresses to, oh, we went from being checks and balances, checks, check. You have to check everyone to you now have all the money access you want. You can just do whatever you want, control it, and that's how you see Andor get illegally detained for being a tourist just because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Actually, I do have a complaint. I do have a complaint about this show. They chose the wrong actor to play Colonel Yularen. I didn't like. He didn't sell me as Yularen. I feel like because I mean you're also used to Tim Kaine's voice. I feel like it's just all these great things, and like he kind of looked the role. I didn't think he sounded the role. I think they could have done a better job. That's my one complaint. I have a complaint. But the structure of the ISB was so cool to see, and this is like where I think I'm too far gone as a Star Wars fan, where I'm enjoying, and but you're enjoying it the way George Lucas wants you to enjoy Star Wars, which is through the politics, and the Senate and all these things. That's what the show did. Um, but like Deborah Miro, such a great awful character to root against. And it's like but you kind of root for her in like the structure of things, but then you're like, "Oh no, you're the equivalent of a Nazi. I don't like you." And I mean we know why. She does something completely irredeemable at the end of the show. But yeah, that is my number 4.
Okay.
3,
Um,
we're in the top 3 and then you're
top
well, you already done
three.
one of your honorable mentions, so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So my third one is the Power of Rebellion speech that Cassian's mom, I can't think of her name right now.
Yes,
Um,
but
but
Mrs. Dursley.
Mrs. Dursley, what she makes and like how it kind of starts the whole thing that happens at the last episode. I just thought that was so good, and I, I just also, I wrote this before the news came out about what the actual line at the end of her speech was supposed to be. Instead of fight the Empire, it was
Yeah,
yeah. So I
not
think
Mickey
that is
approved. Not Mickey approved.
not Mickey approved. You're so right. But I think that speech was just very much like something that, again, kind of going back to what you were saying with like the mirror it holds up to real life society. Like, look at any rebellion in the history of the world, and like a speech like that is very powerful for people from someone that they trust who has died. So that is, yeah, I thought it was great.
And
And
that's
the way they reacted, sorry, I got
yeah.
excited. The way they reacted,
Oh, we actually
uh,
got a lore dump too from that. Did you see them announce that the guy that did the hammers, that they're Beskar hammers, that the hammers are Beskar? So there's a little
oh,
bit of, there's some lore dumping in there too. Yeah. Um I wonder if that's the place maybe our little Mando is from. But it would be interesting if they're one of the. I don't know where they are in the system. I haven't actually looked at the map for where they're. Was it Ferrix? Is that where they were on?
yeah.
I didn't actually look on the map for where Ferrix is located in the rim. But I'm gonna follow suit similarly. And it's the consequences of people's actions. More
Yeah.
specifically, Andor's actions, because Cassian does all these things, at least in the beginning, for himself and he doesn't really pay for these things. Everyone else around him gets back, and I think one of the most tragic characters in all of Star Wars, and this is a lot. Uh, if you go into the expanded universe, there's so much tragedy, sadness. Is Bix? Bix believes in Cassie and wants to do all this good for him. Like always lets him go, and you can tell it's because they have a love for each other. Whether it is romantic or platonic or friendship at this point, it doesn't matter. But she helps him. Her boyfriend sells out Cassian, and her boyfriend dies because of it. Okay, now her life sucks because she's lost her boyfriend, who was also her coworker. And then at the end, she gets this like horrible, and this is where I was talking about irredeemableness from Deborah, Deborah Miro, where Bix gets tortured almost to the point of insanity. And I think we're seeing the beginning of the droids, the truth serum droids. But Bix, like, she doesn't. Nothing good happens to her.
Yeah.
It's a constant flow of bad, not by her own doing. And I hope, and I don't think Cassian ever really sees the reflection of this of what he does until he's literally about to die on Scarif. I don't think Cassian truly learns because like he's always when we meet him first in Rogue One, he kills his friend because his friend would sell him out if he gets captured by the Empire. And Cassian never. I mean, he will. In maybe they'll change it. Just it's high stakes in Rogue One, but Cassian in the end always looks out for Cassian without thinking about the repercussions of what happens. And in the end, he fixes it and then he dies. But everyone suffers for one person's choices. And again, mirror. We have this beautiful mirror, just more tragic. But poor Bix. I feel so bad for Bix. Shout out to that actress though. She was incredible. Adria Arjona. But yeah, we're in the top. We're in the top.
Countdown. Okay. So my number two kind of ties in slightly to your point, but I really love the reluctant hero kind of thing we got going on. Obviously Cassian is like he was reluctant, which I kind of liked that retcon from Rogue One, where it's like I've been in this fight since I was 2 years old. Like,
Was it
okay,
7?
you're
I
being
thought.
a little, but also like it tracks with his character because he would be a little dramatic in there. He'd be like, "I'm counting when I was like all that." Um, but like how we see him, like he doesn't want to help until he has no other choice almost. And then at the end, he makes the decision for himself that he wants to help. He wants to listen to what his mother said and fight. So that was one.
He has a serious victim complex.
Yes,
He
he
really
definitely
does. He seriously does.
and I mean, you see that in Rogue One too, right? But I liked his reluctant hero path, how we went from like, no, I'm not going to do this to like, okay, fine. And I know in the next season we'll be from okay, fine to I will die for this rebellion. And then so Mothma, I think her reluctancy in the things that she did in some like the not getting your hands dirty part. And I think that to me is very much it's giving like today, right? Politicians not wanting to get their quote unquote hands dirty with like the ground things that are happening, things like that. And I think that was a really good another mirror held up. And she was very reluctant about some things, but we know from later things. I mean, even in Rogue One, she's reluctant to do things that she knows is going to be helpful.
I'm going to disagree with you on this, but I will let you finish.
Oh, okay.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for this.
Okay, so we'll put a pin in that one and come back and have that nice little argument. And the last reluctant hero is I can't remember the character's name, but Andy's character in the jail.
Yes. Oh crap. I'm quickly scrolling. You can talk about it while I will look.
But I think
Kino.
Kino, thank you. His whole thing of being like, we're gonna get out of here, it's gonna be fine, like just keep pushing, and until it was proven again and again that there is no getting out, that the system was built to keep you in. Literally, you'd be on one floor, you'd get released, and you'd go to another floor. It took until then to the how many guards? Never more than 12. Like that line, and then what he did next, and just the heartbreak of can't swim.
Oh,
like
killer.
Just, yeah, it was just very, very good. And I just I think the reluctant hero turned to hero, just end of sentence. Um, is a beautiful thing that this, because like usually it's in Star Wars, it's I'm the chosen one. Like we haven't seen too many. Like, no, thank you. I'm actually going to actively fight against this. Um, in the way that we saw it here, there's been some characters that are like, no, like Sabine and Rebels taking the dark saber, which had then leads to all the things that are happening in Mandalorian. But
Finn. Finn is a reluctant hero. He just wants to escape. Until
then
he
yeah,
finally has
but
a reason
like,
to fight for.
and absolutely, but he changes his mind really quickly. He changed his mind in one movie.
There's a big difference between 3 movies and a whole TV
I
series.
understand, but also that's one character in a movie full of a bunch of people. This show has a lot more reluctancy because it shows you how a rebellion, how like an actual thing would come to be.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, but what do you want to fight me on? Let's go.
Yes, so my fight with you is on Mon Mothma, as this is my number 2 point, is Mon Mothma to me was actually the most interesting, as we have a cat behind me right now. Everyone say hello to Monty if you're on YouTube. Mon Mothma to me is actually the most interesting story of Andor
I agree.
for a person to follow. And you're saying that she doesn't want to get her hands dirty, and she doesn't because she can't. There's a big difference between an Andor and a Mon Mothma. Cassian Andor is to the galaxy is a nobody.
Yes.
Cassian Andor is a nobody. He has the luxury. He has a drawback for so many things. But he has the luxury of being a nobody, which means he doesn't have to have these morals, ethics, and this face value to the galaxy. Mon Mothma is one of the most important senators of the Clone Wars era as she follows the Bail Organa group, and they can't get their hands dirty because if you give the Emperor a chance to make an example of someone on that level, if Mon Mothma slipped, got her hands dirty, got caught doing something wrong, and gave the Emperor a chance, she would have been executed live, and it would have killed the rebellion. And we see that in Rebels. We see the episode when Mon finally decides, I'm going to announce to the world, to the universe, who I am.
Yes,
go ahead.
I'm not like I completely agree with you, but it's even the. I'm not saying her getting her that was not English. Her getting her hands dirty. It's the fact that she doesn't want the rebellion getting their hands dirty. She was mad at Luthen for the Aldani heist because of what it did. Not because of the repercussions to her. There's no way to tie that back to her, but she was mad because the way it happened and it's not quote unquote ethical. There's a difference of being like, I gotta keep my hands clean, like go do what you want to do, like do what you have to do, which is kind of what Bale did. But she was a little bit more righteous in a lot of the things that she was. I'm not disagreeing with you that she couldn't have done the things that, and she couldn't go around being an assassin. You are 100% correct. She couldn't go around doing the things Luthen was doing with his money. But other than that, like that, she was a little bit more right, especially at the beginning, a little bit more righteous in a way that painted her as the reluctant hero in some regards.
But what did Aldani do? What did Aldani lead to in the galaxy? What happened because of Aldani? The ISB gained even more control and they gained access to money. So it's this thing of you have to do these carefully calculated things. You sometimes need that spark, but then you get you're Saw Gerrera. You're the terrorist, where even the rebels don't want to work with you because you're too extreme. Where you have like hardcore rebels too scared to work with Saw because of his any means necessary. It's weird levels of the rebellion, and that's what we see. The issue with the rebellion is as it grows, is everyone wants the same outcome, but want different means to achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, no one knows that Palpatine's a Sith Lord, I believe. I think that's still pretty covered up.
No, nobody.
So you don't know how. No one knows how powerful this man is at the center of it all.
Yeah.
But yes, I think we're here. Oh no, you have your 3.5 honorable mentions.
Yeah, 3.5 now.
I do have an honorable mention though. I do have one.
So my honorable mention is probably gonna be Cliff's top one because it always is when he does this.
Nope, it's not. It's not. I told you. I gave away in number 2 that the best character was Mon Mothma. I already said that. Said that.
Well, my first honorable mention is the actors. Obviously they did incredible. Diego Luna is now the second ever Star Wars actor nominated for a Golden Globe, right behind Alec Guinness, which is exciting and amazing and very well deserved. The actors really embodied the roles and really made it believable, obviously, and just it was very easy to watch. And like, it was a hard show that was easy to watch.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good way to put it.
so the actors is one of them. The next, I'll go to this one first and then that one last. Nemrick's, I think that's how you pronounce his name, journal in Rogue One on Cassian's jacket is now like a headcanon.
I know.
Like that, because I 100% believe it, especially the way it was like, Nemrick's voice was over the end, last episode, I think it was, and like talking about what, like reading his journal entry. I just think that is such a beautiful little touch that explains that. My last one is the cinematography. I thought it was beautiful. I gotta give a special shout out to during the Aldani heist, what I personally, as an A Court of Thorns and Roses fan, call Starfell, because it looks like how I imagine that from that book. It was beautifully shot. It was beautifully produced. Every single camera shot was purposeful. Every single moment of episode time was purposeful, and I just thought it was just beautifully done.
The Starfall was gorgeous, and it's so sad that it was being used not for Aldani's heist, but it was being used to kind of mess with the natives, make them think that you can keep doing this, blah blah blah, and it was actually probably the last time those people ever saw Starfall from that location in their lives, which is very sad to think about.
What is it actually called? Because I've just been calling it Starfall. Like, I know that's not the name of it.
I forget what they said it was called. My one honorable mention is the group of rebels for the heist. It was such a fun band of misfits, and you found out like the young guy that was sad. That to me was so upsetting. Yeah. But then the other guy was just a total piece of crap, piece of bantha poodoo. But you had and Cassian does the right thing in the end. It was fun seeing the waif play an actual named character, and also they had a very stressful love story. I don't know. They seemed like they both had different things they needed to be at that time, but they truly cared about each other. But yeah, I think it was so interesting seeing like the beginning of the rebels, because it's really like not everyone's good. Not everyone on the rebels is good, but they have a good reason to be there.
Yeah.
What are your other ones?
That was it. That's all my honorable mentions.
Those are all your honorable mentions. All right, drum roll. We're here for number one.
My number one. We might honestly have the same top one.
I'm a little curious. We might.
But my top one is the tragic beauty that was the post-credit scene. When I first watched the episode, where they were building in the jail, I was like, what if they're building the Death Star? And Christian was like, no. And then the last episode, I was like, I told you. And he's like, a lot of people said that. I was like, you know the truth. But I think that the thing that kills Cassian is something he unwillingly helped build. It's so perfect for like the way Rogue One is, because now both characters who die on that beach holding on to each other have a direct connection to the Death Star being built.
Yes,
like it's tragic.
Sad.
It's so sad, but it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
I still remember gaslighting myself into believing, some of the people from Rogue One will live. I still remember gaslighting myself into that. I also want to say, I forgot to mention this, the character that was Melshi that escaped with Cassian is Sergeant Melshi in Rogue One, who also helped build the Death Star and then dies on Scarif. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so sad. It's incredible. It's incredibly sad. It was beautiful. I just remember like the way it was shot, the way that got cinematography too, just like the beautiful tragedy of that post-credit scene is the best way to put it. Like that was, I think, my favorite thing of the episode, of like the Cassian now will forever be trying to get a. Oh my god, my Apple Watch thought I was talking to it. Um, will forever be trying to outrun the Empire. Will forever be trying to take it over. And the thing that kills him is a mistake, quote unquote mistake, something he did that he will never be able to undo. That he had a
I
hand in.
wouldn't say it's a mistake if you're forced to do it.
Exactly, no, but like that's in his own mind. Like the you're gonna blame yourselves if he ever found out, which I think he does in Rogue One when he finds out. When you watch the acting now with the show, if you go back, you're like, oh, that's when he realizes it. Like that's when he realizes that he had a hand in it directly.
Maybe,
Beautiful,
but my
great job.
number one is not that. I'm not even mentioning the Death Star. My number one kind of goes off your point a few times ago, but the beauty of a rebellion. It's not beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful if the outcome wins, as we know it does.
It's magically
But what
beautiful.
it is, and I think Cassian forever fought for the rebellion almost as a revenge. It was a way for he believed he could one person could help make a difference. And I think that Jin says it best, where rebellions are built on hope, but there's always more good than bad in the world, in the universe. And all it took was a spark. And in this case, and in Andor's case, it was his mother, where her speech ignited it. It led to that, but it was building, building. And even with the Empire at all its might, had the firepower, had all this, they still lost to the people of Barracks because of that one spark. Because no matter how much artillery you have, the numbers still beat you. And I think there was just something beautiful about that ending, and it was really the perfect way to end it. And then they punch us in the gut with the Death Star. But in the end, it doesn't matter if you have the giant death laser in the sky. You're
You
still
know,
outnumbered by the good.
not
And
even the
that's the beauty.
outnumbered by the good. It's the
You have people actually fighting for something they believe in.
exactly. There's a
Where,
difference in being,
yeah,
yeah.
where like a character like the incel, like Cyril, isn't fighting for anything. He believes in order, but you can't like grasp onto that. Like you're not fighting for your dead mother. You're not fighting for the planet you lost. You're not like you're fighting for a concept, but in this you're fighting for and the rebels are fighting for everybody else. They're fighting for a better tomorrow where the empire is
Isn't that
fighting for their
also
order. And
okay? But that's also a concept. So be careful with the language you choose there
but
because
it's
something.
it's what can you grab onto. I don't think
Anything
order
you grab
will.
onto freedom,
I mean,
that's
if
getting
you're
too
if you're
obsessed.
if you're an incel, you can probably grip onto everything. But like,
Yeah.
I don't think like Nero never had a real. Her passion was just to move up, was to be better than everybody else, and that's it.
I think. I mean,
And it's
I
brittle.
think.
It's this brittle concept you're holding on to.
I think it's also. Mm, I think it's. How do I word this without getting?
But like there's a passion in it that's different. Like
No, there's
Cyril's
a
passion is tunnel
passion.
vision. It's a tunnel vision of himself. Where
Okay, here it
Cassian
is.
Luthen sees the bigger picture.
No, no, no. Here it is. Here it is. It's selfishness against selflessness. That's
That's a
it.
good one.
Because the selfishness of it, right? Order, the rebellion, the empire knows what it's doing. Like, obviously, they know best. Like, no critical thinking. I'm just going to follow these orders. To the, whoa, there's a systemic problem here. Maybe I should fight for not only my own rights and myself, but for the people who cannot speak up for themselves or the people who are standing next to me. There's a power in that against the selfishness of must follow orders and I trust this person completely. It's the blind trust against the um, wanting everyone to have a say.
Yeah,
Because the Senate, as we know right now, is very much
fake,
not.
fake.
Yeah,
It's
it's
it's a
not really
puppet
having
show. It's this fake puppet show.
exactly.
But that's it. Unless you've thought of other ones, but we did it. Andor is here and gone. Next is
Yeah,
Bad Batch. Well, maybe we'll actually get our Christmas show in. Maybe we'll finally do that.
yeah, we'll do a Christmas one next week before
So there
before.
we go. Before Christmas, exactly. Any last words?
in general.
Where would you actually? I do have something to say. I'm very happy for Diego Luna being the first person to be nominated. It's still absolute crap. Pedro Pascal has not been nominated because he doesn't have enough face time on The Mandalorian. Yes, there's three
Well,
actors, but he is the Mandalorian.
season 3, baby, we might get him a little bit more.
Maybe
Maybe he'll get nominated for 2 shows this season,
he
though.
will
Same
probably get nominated for The
Black.
Last of Us.
Yeah, which I'm
But
excited for. I never
okay.
finished it.
I don't think. Where can they find you on social media? I don't know if you. I don't know if the social media manager is memorized everything, so I'll have to do the social media.
I
So
did
where can they
memorize for
find you?
myself.
Where can they find
They
you?
can You can find me on Instagram at _Megan_Brown 96. And then you can find me on Twitter for as long as that exists at Megan2298.
That's a great point. But you can find me at CP Robinson81 on everything, and you can find the podcast on Twitter at Stream the Mouse, on Instagram at Streaming with the Mouse, on Facebook Streaming with the Mouse. Website's still down, so ignore that one. But for Megan Brown, my name is Clifton Paul Robinson signing off. We will see you next time. May the force be with you.